Welcome to the MFR Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how you can create a six-figure MFR practice. I'm your host, Heather Hommel. Not only have I been practicing MFR for 11 years, I'm also a life and business coach, especially for MFR therapists. My goal is for you to understand how to get fully booked, how to talk to your clients, and how to make sure they understand what's possible for them with MFR treatment. I'm here to help you stop under-earning, overworking, and burning out. I'll lend support so you can create the MFR practice you've always wanted. Learn how you can do it too, even if you live in a tiny town, and even if you're just starting out, and even if you've ran your practice for years. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Heather Hommel, the MFR Coach. If you think you're good at myofascial release, or you feel like you're still figuring things out, this episode is for you either way. Because what I see over and over again is that seasoned MFR therapists and brand new therapists struggle with the same thing. And that is converting clients on their very first visit. It does not matter how long you've been practicing. I see this pattern constantly and consistently. A therapist can be deeply skilled, or a therapist can be early on in their journey, and both can have clients who feel better after the first session who still don't commit to more treatment. That is because what is missing is usually not your skill level. It is trust in your authority. And today I want to talk about the difference between being good at MFR and being trusted as the expert, being good at telling clients that you can help them, because those two things are not the same. Let me paint a picture of what I know that you have lived, because I've lived it too. You have a great first session. The tissue responds, the client stands up afterwards and says they feel lighter, looser. They feel like they have hope. They thank you. They say, that was really helpful. And then when it comes time to talk about the next step, something shifts. They say they need to think about it, or they book one more session a few weeks out instead of following through with what you recommended, if you recommended anything at all, or they disappear entirely. At this point, many therapists tell themselves a story about the client. They decide the client is not committed. They decide the client is flaky. They decide the client is not serious about their healing. But there's something else happening here that we need to name. Often, the client is not uncommitted. It's a therapist who's not committed. Not uncommitted to the work, not uncommitted to caring, but uncommitted to saying clearly and confidently and believing that I can help you get to your goal. And here's how. This is the real decision happening in the room. Trust answers a very specific question. Can you lead me forward? Which really means, can you get me to the goal? That is what the clients are deciding and trying to figure out. Not, did this feel good? Not, do I like the therapist? Not even, does this make any sense? They're deciding whether you believe you can help them get where they want to go. And here's the part therapists don't always want to hear. When you are unsure if you can help your client will smell that from a mile away. You don't have to say it directly. You don't have to name it out loud. It shows up in hesitation. It shows up in the softened language that you use. It shows up in offering too many options instead of one specific direction for them. Clients are incredibly sensitive to this. They've been around the block. This isn't their first bus stop to get care. They've been denied help many times, probably by the time they see you. If you are not fully committed to the plan that you are recommending, they will not commit to it either. This is where relief and trust split. Relief answers the question, did this help? Trust answers the question, can you lead me to the outcome that I want? Being good at MFR creates relief. Being trusted as the expert creates safety. Clients do not just want their pain reduced. They want to know what to do next. They want to know if this is the right path. And they want to feel that someone is confidently holding that path for them and with them. And this is where your authority comes in. Authority is not about being dominant, and it's not about being pushy, and it's not about being salesy. Authority is really about leadership. And it's one of the most important things that you can create inside your business. It's very important to understand that authority is communicated long before your price is ever even discussed. If pricing conversations feel awkward or heavy for you, it's usually not a pricing problem. It's an authority problem, a belief problem that you have in your ability to create the value and the outcome that you're promising. Authority is usually communicated in the first few minutes of a visit. It shows up in how you open the session, your onboarding, the client experience from when they book the session to when they first meet you in person. It shows up in how you ask questions and whether you're gathering information or you've gathered information and you're actually using that during your evaluation. And there's a big difference between I'm going to ask you 1 million questions on your intake form and then not use any of that information to get to know you before you come in, right? Gathering information sounds like this. Tell me what brings you in. Tell me where it hurts. Tell me what you've tried. Evaluating sounds like this. Based on what you're describing, here is what I'm seeing. Here is what matters. Here's what I'm paying attention to. Clients decide very early whether you are a guide or a service provider and whether you are leading or following. And they make that decision before money is ever even mentioned. This is why therapists feel blindsided when clients hesitate at the end of a session. The client is not reacting to your price. They are reacting to your uncertainty. When authority has not been established, the client is suddenly being asked to decide something big without a clear framework and without a clear understanding that things are going to work for them. And that feels unsafe. Now let's talk about evaluations and recommendations, because this is where many therapists unintentionally give their authority away. Experts evaluate, experts recommend. And let me just clarify what I mean by expert. I mean by expert business owners, people who are expert in helping clients. It has nothing to do with your number of certifications on the wall. Experts do not present a menu of options and hope the client chooses correctly. Many therapists were taught that giving options is respectful, that letting the client decide is empowering. But here's what usually happens. When you give a client 3 or 4 ways that they could proceed without a clear recommendation, you're handing them a responsibility that they did not come for. They did not come to decide what kind of care they need. They came because they do not know and they want you to help them. Choice sounds polite, but too much choice creates anxiety. Evaluations create clarity. Recommendations create relief. When you evaluate, you are saying, I am paying attention. I know what matters. I can see the pattern. When you recommend, you are saying, this is the path that gives you the best chance of getting to your goal. That is leadership. And leadership is what clients are actually seeking, even if they cannot articulate that. That is why leaving clients to choose often backfires. It feels respectful to the therapist, but it feels confusing to the client. The client leaves thinking, I felt better, but I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do now. And uncertainty does not lead to commitment. Now let's talk about why clients want to be led, not left to choose. Most clients are already overwhelmed when they come to see you. They've tried the things, they've Googled, they've been told conflicting information. They are tired of guessing. They're exhausted. So when you say you could come weekly or biweekly or just as needed, whatever feels right to you, what they hear is, oh, great, I'm on my own again. This does not feel empowering. It feels lonely. I'm going to remind you, leadership is not control. Leadership is taking responsibility for the outcome. And so many times I hear this over and over again. MFR therapists are afraid to be responsible for the outcome. You're afraid, and it shows up in your business model. Taking responsibility does not mean guaranteeing results. It means being willing to say, based on my experience, based on what I have observed and what I am seeing in your body, this is the path I would guide you on. Even if the client says no, trust still increases. Trust is not dependent on a yes. Trust is built when the client feels led, even when they decline. And I think this is also very confusing for therapists because we make a decline or a no mean that we've done something wrong or that the client just doesn't clearly understand. So here's the part I want you to hear clearly. Being trusted as the expert is not about being louder, more confident, or more convincing. It really is about having a structure that allows authority to be felt without pressure, Structure is what keeps you from over-explaining, and structure is what makes recommendations feel calm and grounded instead of awkward. When structure is missing, therapists fill the gap with words, more explaining, more reassurance, more hoping the client will feel confident enough to decide. And that really is just exhausting. And it is why first sessions often feel heavier than follow-up or subsequent sessions. When you're not leading, you end up carrying the decision for the client, and that's really not sustainable. It's kind of exhausting, right? So here's the good news for everybody. Authority and just structure in general is learnable. It's not a personality trait that you have to be born with. You do not need to become someone else. You need a framework that tells you when to lead, what to evaluate, and how to stand behind your recommendation. This distinction between skill and authority is central to what I'm teaching in an upcoming live webinar. The training is called The Real Reason MFR Clients Don't Commit After the First Session. We will be live with this training on March 18th at 3 p.m. Central. And in this webinar, I will walk you through how to establish authority from the beginning of a session, how to evaluate instead of over-explain, and how to clearly recommend care in a way that helps clients decide with confidence. This is not about scripts or pressure. It really is about structure, the structure that allows clients to trust that you can get them to their goal. You can register right now at themfrcoach.com/reason. And I also want to say this, if you have clients, but you are not fully booked, or you have been fully booked before, but struggle to stay there, this training is for you. If you're brand new to MFR, this is also for you. It will help you transition your practice to MFR only with ease, get fully booked, and stay there sooner. And if you don't want to wait and you would rather dive straight into supporting your business growth, and your long-term success, you can join my Foundations program anytime. This webinar will be a kickoff event to a live launch for joining Foundations, but you don't have to wait. Foundations is my 12-month coaching program where I teach you how to lead clients, sell MFR with clarity, and build a practice that is consistently booked. You can find out more about that program by going to themfrcoach.com/foundation. If your work is good, but your follow-through feels inconsistent, you do not need to work harder. You need to lead with clarity, and that is something you can learn. And that is what I teach inside my program. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you on another episode of the MFR Coach next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to the MFR Coaches Podcast. If you're ready to grow your myofascial release practice, make sure to sign up for my next free training. These live webinars are designed to help you take real steps towards building a fully booked, profitable business. You can save your seat and find the latest dates at themfrcoach.com/webinar. And if you're looking for more support, the Foundations program is now open year-round. Inside, you'll get coaching, tools, and community to help you get fully booked and stay that way without burning out. One last thing before you go. My brand new book, Your MFR Practice Starts Here, is now available. It's a must-read for any MFR therapist who wants to build a business that actually works. You can grab your copy on Amazon and get your companion guide by going to themfrcoach.com/book. Start implementing right away. I'll see you in the next episode.